Welcome to the Nordic Mythology podcast. I'm Daniel Farrand, owner of the company Horns of Odin. As always, before we jump into the show, I do have to plug our Patreon. It's the way that we keep the lights on. It's how we keep the going. It's literally the lifeline of the show. So if you get 2 minutes, please pop over to Patreon/Nordic Mythology podcast and check out what we've got on offer. So the main feature is a bonus episode we do every single week with our guests where we sit down and we let the patrons ask their questions. You can submit them ahead of time, or you can jump in live, watch the show, and ask your question in real time and get your answer and have a little bit of back and forth with the guest. A lot of the time, these episodes have tons of extra information in. Me and Mags miss questions left, right, and center. And they're really worth the time. If you have a favorite episode, just pop over onto our Patreon and there's going to be that bonus little bumper on there, and you get the whole back catalogue when you sign up as well. If you can't support on Patreon, then a 5-star rating, positive review wherever you get your podcast is appreciated, and it helps new people find the podcast. And then don't forget to go and find us on YouTube. I've heard a lot of people say that they like watching the show at the minute. So like, subscribe, hit the bell. Apparently, if you watch the video the whole way through, the algorithm loves that. So leave it on, go out, leave it on in the background, let the dog watch it. I don't care. Put it on.
Fall asleep to it.
Yeah, put it on repeat. Well, maybe not my voice, but maybe yours. But put it on repeat and just have it like circling round and round in the background. That's fine. You know, whatever we have to do. But with that said, let's get into today's show. That lovely voice was my wonderful co-host and in-house archaeologist, Mags Havgar. Mags, hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. And then there's a weird hello from me there back. I don't know why I said it back. I went hello, like really quietly.
Well, hello to you.
Very sultry.
Yeah.
And this is I guess we're probably long overdue. So anybody who's just listened to the intro of this podcast may or may not have realized that the gentleman that we're about to speak to actually created that for us all those many years ago. And it's taken us this long to actually book the episode. So I do apologize for that, Jonathan. So our guest today is Gealdýr, or Jonathan Barendsma. Jonathan is Gealdýr is the musical project of Dutch artist Jonathan Barendsma. I messed my introduction up there, didn't I? Blending Nordic, Celtic, and medieval influences into ambient dark folk. The music features ancient languages such as Old Norse, Old English, inspired by myths, legends, and the mysteries of the past. And you put in here what the name means, but I'm going to let you describe that to us. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. First of all, Mags and Dan, thank you both for having me. It's such an honor to be here and a super pleasure. Actually, Dan, we spoke, over a couple of years, a couple of times, for me to come on the show. But I have to apologize for that because I said many times to you, I don't know if you can remember that, but I said to you it's not the right time yet, or I was not feeling well because of some, I have chronic health problems, which we can talk about later. But that was kind of like the main reason that it was a bit hard to plan. So it is definitely overdue, but I'm so excited to be part of the podcast finally.
You are. Yeah, I mean, you've always been part of it in your own little way.
I mean, yes. Every single episode.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's crazy. I remember, I think it was you, Dan, right? Or Matthias? I'm not sure anymore.
I think it was me.
Yeah. You were like, "Hey, man, can you, create a little intro sound?" And I remember I was at that time. I think my first album, Soul, just came out. I'm not 100% sure, and I was like, "Okay." So what I did, I took my song, the song Ginungagap from my Soul album, and I changed it around to create an intro from it for you guys. So that's a story behind that. Mm-hmm. So don't know if you guys knew that, but that's how that went. So it's really cool that you guys still use it. Really happy about that.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere.
Awesome.
You're immortalized in this podcast.
Also it fits. It really fits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's special. It means a lot. Like I say, we will never change it. It's the intro. It's iconic at this point.
It's the sound.
252 in. This is it's there to stay.
You guys had some amazing people on the podcast. Like I watch it from time to time, So you had Katiran, right? Like an Einar, Selvik. So it was
Yeah.
that's amazing. So yeah, amazing guys. I'm very proud of you both, and also of Matthias, of course. So yeah, really
Thank you.
cool.
You are just the sweetest guy. Can I just start the conversation off by saying that?
You're talking to Dan?
No, you, Jonathan.
Oh, me. Okay.
That is just so lovely. And I feel, and thank you. I also feel like slightly impostery taking any of that credit, but thank you so much. I'm just so happy to be a part of this. And this, I'm so excited to hear about your musical project and everything, because I have to admit, I haven't listened to a lot of your music just because.
That's totally okay.
No, but honestly, it's not that I haven't been around the block or anything, but I'm one of those people who, like, if I find something that I like, I sometimes just listen to it to death. And then I stop. I remember when I was like in my teens, I was super like curious on the music front. And then something happened. But the sound for just the intro of this podcast, and I, in comparison to Dan, you've mentioned this a couple of times, Dan, that you don't usually listen back to the episodes.
Oh, never.
I guess I'm a weirdo, and I do. I listen back to most of the episodes. And like as soon as I hear those intro notes, I'm just like, oh, here we are. And I'm so happy to talk to the person who created the vibe.
That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, it's what I remember is when Dan reached out, I was like, okay, intro. Okay, what am I going to do? So I was like, and I was thinking about the song Ginungagap that I created. Well, Ginungagap, the beginning of of the Norse universe basically. And I was like, okay, and there was this sound in there, and I played a bit around with it, changed a little bit some stuff, but I was like, okay, yeah, this can work. That's nice as an intro. So yeah, I'm just very honored that you guys are so many episodes further and still using it, and and you're so successful with your podcast as well, and reaching so many people. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, you have a good level of success yourself. I checked Spotify. I was like having a little listen before, as I always do with, especially with like musical guests. I always try and listen before the episode, kind of get myself in that space. Yeah, some of your songs are 11, 12 million listens.
Yeah.
Damn, son.
Streams. Yeah. What a dad thing to say there. Listens. Streams is what I meant.
Yeah, well, I got one song that I did together with Dunheim that it's the top song. I think it's somewhere the one of 11 million, I think, that streams. So that one was it was quite popular, especially at the time. It's still going quite well, and was a beautiful collaboration. So that's to be said. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get into the names, because you gave us an interesting fact about your own personal name, and then I want to know more about the music name as well.
Absolutely. So yeah, Gealdýr, right? So this is before I started out, or when I was like, I was actually busy with my first single, Otala. I think it took me a year to kind of like really kind of realize that song, because I was really trying to find a vibe, an original way of doing things, and I was also honestly learning a lot about Norse mythology and Old Norse. I was reading a lot of Jackson Crawford's work, for example. That guy is amazing. I mean, he thankfully, thanks to him, I was able to learn the pronunciation of Old Norse through YouTube. That was amazing, especially in the beginning. So,
was there a process of you just stood in front of the mirror, just trying to? I mean, I guess I don't know. I don't know too much about Dutch as a language, but do you have some of this similar?
Super similar. I would say, like when you think of Old English or Old Norse. So for me, Old Norse is like, it's a very different language, but it has a lot of similarities with Dutch, with the r, the r kind of sound, or some words. It's very this Germanic kind of roots, I want to say, and Dutch is quite like, well, over the years it's how to say that. It has become such a mixture, I think, as well of different influences of different languages. But definitely, it was very surprising when I started out that for me, the pronunciations of Old Norse was very easy to learn.
Wow. I'd love to know where England in particular kind of lost these sounds, because I can't roll my R's for love nor money. It's a real
That's
struggle.
Because you've never been taught to. That's not how your language
well,
works.
I can tell you, old English is very. I mean, it is different, very different than modern English, of course, and the sounds as well. Honestly, I don't know. I have not looked into that part of history too much, to be very honest with you guys. I've been more into like the older kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
Gealdýr, where does that
yeah.
the name come from?
So yeah, so as I said, I was really figuring out for a while how I want the project to be, and so I was actually walking one day in the forest with a very good friend of mine, and who is actually now my manager and who manages my
Oh.
music and stuff like that. And we also produce together. But at that moment, we were deep in the forest, and I was talking to him about this project that I really wanted to start, but name-wise, I wanted to do something with Celtic folk music, Nordic folk music. I didn't know yet how or what, so I was like telling to him like I want to combine it something. I want to, But at that moment when I was sharing those thoughts, at that right moment, there was this little white deer walking through the forest.
Wow.
This little white deer. I have a picture of it, so I will send it to you guys. I don't know
Oh,
if you can
please do.
That
implement.
sounds
Yeah.
very Norse mythology.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a little dream or something. But I know most people tell me that. But I mean, we have a
No, but I'm
picture.
saying like it fits.
Yeah. It definitely fits. But it was like, I mean, we don't know for sure if it was an albino deer or a specific species. But we have where I live, we have like a huge forest. So there are like lots of deers where I live, basically. And I was like, white deer. I was yes, that has to be the name, especially when you're talking about the subject. So actually, I don't know. I just saw it as a form of a spiritual side of the universe.
Sometimes you just know, right? It just feels
Yeah,
right.
it sounds so. I don't know, maybe a bit like cliche or something. I don't know, but it's like for me it was a huge thing. It was like a huge thing. So I was like, okay. And then I did some research and I was like, okay, so I wanted to combine, Celtic elements with Nordic folk elements and also ambient elements. And I was like, okay, so I love Gaelic, the Gaelic language. It's also something I still want to explore in my music. I haven't done so yet. That's mainly has to do that I really want to approach it as professionally and correct and also respectfully possible. Um, and yeah, and Old Norse. I just thought, okay, I will start out with Old Norse. But I took the Gaelic word for white, gal, and the Old Norse word for deer, so Gealdýr. And that's the story behind that. Yeah.
Wow. It's
Fun.
it sounds better than just white deer, I think.
Yeah,
It works
yeah,
better.
it's like white deer. That sounds off, right?
White deer kind of, I don't know. White deer kind of sounds like a, those really strong cider drinks that you get. The
Yeah.
teens used to get on like an evening. We used to have white. I think it's because we used to have
Oh yeah, like
white
Smirnoff
stripe.
White type thing.
Yeah, we used to have like white stripe. So and that's what it reminds me of. Is white deer. But yeah, Gaudi is. I love it. But how many? Do you ever get people like me being like, "How do I pronounce this correctly?" Because you gave me a great answer,
yeah.
which was,
Yeah.
"What do you
So,
think?"
so it's definitely true. Like at the moment, so in Gaelic actually you have so gal actually is more like it does mean white, but it also can means like shining or something that shines, basically, like the moon. Another word for white in Gaelic is like a ban. So I was like bandier. I was like bandier. I was
Mm.
like, yeah. I was like, I really like the word Gealdýr. I don't know. It was something to it for me. But I have a lot of people who say, okay, how do I pronounce that? And sometimes I'm like, okay, did I make the right choice? But at the end of the day, I think it was just meant to be like
Yeah.
it is. You know what I mean? It's like you can always look back and think like, oh, maybe I should have done things differently or should have done maybe words better. But um, yeah, it's a big passion still of mine to really dive
Mhm.
into Gaelic. And actually, I started with that as well, but it's not something I can. I don't have something ready yet to show the world. Let's say it like that. So
Mhm.
I'm slowly going into that and
Yeah.
with context and everything like that. So yeah.
Wonderful. I think when it comes to naming things, people can focus a little too much. I think you can't just jump in and kind of go with anything, but
Yeah.
you can overthink it and really get stuck and never be happy with anything because
Oh, for
I,
sure.
I think once you name something and put it out there into the world, it kind of gets its own
Hmm.
legs, its own life. Then it becomes the thing that it's meant to be, and you associate the name with the art,
Yeah.
and then it
Yeah.
becomes one and the same. And it's not this kind of thing, but it can be a worry to start with. But you just have to kind of sometimes go with it. And now, you know, Gealdýr is what it is. That's it.
Yeah,
You
Gealdýr. Yeah,
couldn't
Gealdýr.
imagine
Yeah,
it
it's
being
it's.
anything else.
But I mean, it rolls a bit off the tongue, right? I mean, once you say it a few times, or not, like Gealdýr, Gealdýr. It's like it's not that bad, I think, right? Or I
No, it's
hope.
great. It's
Guilty.
great.
No, not at all. And the good thing about that name too is that probably just because of my frame of reference, sure. But I felt like as soon as I heard that name and also when I heard it pronounced, I was like, I feel like I know kind of what I'm going to get when I put this on, which is a good
Yeah,
indicator, right?
That's nice.
It's
That's
like, because when
nice.
you, like,
Yeah.
if you hear like a musician or a band that has like a name and you think it's going to be something and you put it on and maybe it's something else, maybe you vibe with that, but maybe then also it's totally different from what you expected. So you ended up not liking it. But I feel like with
Yeah.
Geldid, I'm like, yeah, like I don't know exactly what I'm gonna get, but it's like Norse folksy something.
Something. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
hmm
I have like an indicator of the vibes.
Yeah.
yeah. I can give
That,
you I can give you a great example of that, Mags, and this is one that people can maybe go and listen to in their own time. But there's a band called Versatile with a song called Kylie's Cocktail Bar. Now I'm not going to tell anyone to go listen to that and listen to it with headphones on, please, because it is very much a not safe for work song, and
Okay.
it is wild. But Versatile Kylie's Cocktail Bar is not what you're getting from this song. It
I
is
don't even know where to put my expectations now.
well, this is it exactly, and I'm telling you now, it is a left field swerve. So that's just one for people to just pop in the headphones later and hit us up on Instagram and let us know what you think of that because it's an odd one. But yeah, it is that thing. At least you know what you're getting. Gealdýr, you know you're getting something that's going to sound really cool. But before
yeah.
we jump into the music, Jonathan, you gives a lovely fact about your name earlier that I think our fans will love.
You mean my personal name, right? Like
Yeah,
my
your
surname.
surname.
Yeah. So my full name. I mean, in English you would say Jonathan. In Dutch we say Jonathan. My last name is Barendsma. It's a Frisian name. It's an old Frisian name, and a lot of people from your podcast may know names like Ragnarsson or Eriksson, for example, like the Scandinavian versions. So my last name is from Frisian heritage. Yeah, heritage basically, and the word Barendsma, so Barendsma, the Sma is basically the son version of the Scandinavian version. So it's a Frisian version of that. So
Oh
yeah,
wow.
it's it's cool. It's cool to
hmm
to tell that, and because not a lot of people know, especially in the Netherlands as well. Nobody nobody really knows, or you have to come from Frisia. But
So that's fun because am I wrong in remembering that like that's like Scottish has this too, like that's what the Mac is, like the son of?
Yeah, I think I am
like McDonald
yeah,
and stuff like that.
yeah. Like I am not 100% sure about that, but it could definitely be.
But my point in saying that is that if I'm correct, and I think also you have the Irish, which is Fitz, which might or might not indicate born outside of marriage. I'm unsure about that one, but I just think it's interesting that if I'm correct, big disclaimer here, it's cool that the Frisian then has similar to in Scandinavia has it at the end of the name instead of the beginning. So you have like Fitzwallace or McDonald, but then in Scandinavia you would have like Hansen. And then you have Barendsma.
Barendsma, it's there are a lot of sma's or like sma in the Netherlands, but not a lot of people know this stuff, and it's it's really cool. So my name is basically son of Barend, right? as a last one. So it's really interesting. And but my heritage is I mean, when we go back in time, let's say it like that, I have DNA from all over the place, basically, you know. So my mom originally comes from France, but she has again, her father is Dutch from origin, but it's a long story. But I have Scandinavian heritage, Frisian heritage, also English and partly Scottish heritage. So it's like it's a big kind of mix. What's going on? But it's very interesting when you think back. It's it's very interesting.
It's almost kind of just like with the naming conventions, almost just like a coincidence that you ended up with a Frisian surname.
Yeah. It's very, very intriguing. Like my mom's from my mom's family, a lot of her brothers, for example, they have like red hair, you know, stuff like that. So I don't know if that if that comes somewhere from Scotland, but we don't know exactly.
Could come from Scandinavia. I don't know. This is, you know,
could also be. So it's we're not 100% sure how what, but would love to find it out one day fully. But who knows?
Fun.
Mags, I just checked, not to think I'm fact checking you, but
but please do, do. Everyone needs to be checked.
Well, you're right. Anyway, you're correct. Mac does mean son of, and Fitz.
Fuck yes.
Fitz does. So Fitz does too. So Fitz mean. Let me just read this. Fitz is an Anglo-Norman kind of English prefix to help distinguish individuals by identifying their immediate predecessor, meaning son of. So it would precede the father's forename. So
that's so cool.
Yeah,
because that's the way it ended up with, like, because now, like, with your name Barendsma, now it's just a surname, right? But like to begin with, I assume that would be like the naming convention still is to this day in Iceland, where it's like, no, your last name is one of your parents' name and then daughter or son of. And like that's the same thing with like Fitz Wallace. That means your dad's name was Wallace. Like
But that's interesting because Fitz said that it was the forename of your father, whereas I always think of it to be is that right?
Well, yeah, because surname. Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise it would just be a surname, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there we go. I haven't said anything super stupid for a while, so I'm due one.
But sometimes you need a minute to just like, which means then that, well, I don't know if the Fitz would only be son of then, or if it would be, if it's gender neutral. I assume it's son of.
It came up as son of.
Yeah.
So
because then my name would be, except that I'm not a boy, but if I was, my name would have been Fitzdog. Or Dogsma.
Dogsma,
Dogsma.
Dogsma doesn't. Dogsma sounds like something you caught one evening when you're up to no good. I have a bad
case of Dogsma.
Yeah, you're up to no good and caught a bit of Dogsma.
That's cool. Yeah.
Jonathan, how did you? Let's start at the beginning. How did you get into music? Let's stay with just music as a starting point, and then we can go into like how did you get into like the Celtic, Nordic folk style?
Okay, so well, as as long as I live, I as a little child, I was quite alternative when it comes to music. So I love like Enya,
Oh my
Celtic
God,
music.
Enya!
Yeah,
Oh,
I every journey with my parents to France or Holly, we went a lot to France because, as I said before, my mom is from France, so I've seen every province of France as a child possible, possibly. But yeah, I was always listening to like Enya or like Celtic music. I love these melodies, like melodic music. And besides that, soundtracks. I love soundtracks like Hans Zimmer or Lord of the Rings
Hmm.
and all that stuff. So as a young child, I was listening to that kind of stuff a lot. So I was not into like mainstream kind of music. So this is has always been my thing from childhood. Also Native American music, for example. Like I remember as a young kid being on the market in my town and seeing a few of the Native Americans. Who came here basically, and they play live, and then they sell the CDs. I don't know if they. I think they also do that in England and stuff. But
Hmm.
and I remember me buying the CDs and putting it in my CD player at the time, right? And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is nice. So at this very young age, I was already like connecting with this very folkish, but also well, since we're talking about Native Americans, with this animistic kind of approach towards music. So this is very interesting and funny.
but
Hmm.
yeah, so this kind of like, I feel like anything could be vibey, right? But I
Mhm.
feel like those types of genres, if you will, pinning things down to genres, I guess it's a bit difficult. But anyway, Dan is gonna start giggling now because I have too many disclaimers. But anyway, um,
No.
I feel like that type of music, the way that it resonates with me is like it's principally like very vibey, like very like
Yeah.
moody, but not moody in a negative sense, but like it gives you a certain like mood or like a feeling.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I agree because even just putting your music on earlier, I could.
I'm so excited to binge all your stuff after this episode. Can I just say?
Yeah.
well,
When I.
Max, definitely let me know. I mean, I would love to hear you. I would love to
Mhm.
hear what
I'm
you.
just gonna go like, yeah, I checked it out. It's not my thing. No, just kidding.
No, you said
You're like, man, we shouldn't have this guy on the podcast. That this wasn't a good idea.
edit it.
Let's just cut it out.
No, I'm sorry. No,
There's,
I have a feeling I'm gonna love it. Please continue, Dan.
there's just no 252. We just go from 251 to 253, and there's just like a little hole where the episode should have been. No, when I put it on earlier, and I was like I said, I was doing some work on Hosvod and putting some new products up, and I could just feel myself getting all emotional, and I had nothing to be emotional about, and not in a bad way. I have no problem with my feeling my emotions,
Yeah.
and I could just feel it kind of like build.
Except when it's compliment directed towards your
Well,
person.
yeah,
You have an issue with that.
I'm not great at taking
Well,
compliments.
that's a good thing. I have the same thing as you, Dan. I'm not good with compliments, so
Yeah.
I fully understand that. Get stuck, you're not
How
like.
is that a good
I,
thing? That's an unhealthy thing. Anyway,
I don't
continue,
I
Dan.
don't know. I think okay, yes. Continue.
But I could just feel, I could feel it kind of just like a rising and so. Which one is it? A rising or a rising? Which one is it? Someone help me.
I feel like you need to like end
Rising.
the sentence for me to know what you're getting at.
Okay,
You felt the
well,
feelings bubbling up?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Am I gonna
Emerging.
am I gonna say? Am I gonna case of
Blossoming.
dogsma? If I is that what it is?
Also, for the record, my dad's name isn't dog, like as in a dog. It's in DAG, as in day in Norwegian. Dog.
Ah.
Not
Oh,
woof
okay.
woof.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Dogsma. Yeah.
But you can just feel like the emotions rising up inside. It's like this starts like kind of deep down. I could just feel it like lifting, and I was like, until the point where I became like really aware of it. I was, why am I getting like emotional? And it was just, it was just your music. A minute of listening to it just kind of triggered something, and it's the sounds and that kind of natural aspect of it just brings it out of me. And I'm sure I'm not the only person.
Well, yeah. Well, that has quite a story to it. I mean, can definitely fill a few hours with that, but So yeah, we talked a bit about like how I mean, as a more of from about my childhood and stuff like that, and the music or what I listened to. But you know, I grew up with a dad playing guitar and stuff like that as well. Playing a bit of piano. Sorry, apologies. Hopefully
Do
you
not
can
even
cut that
worry.
out.
No.
So yeah, I grew up with my dad playing guitar a little bit in the summer, stuff like that, on his guitar, and in high school playing piano. But I really got into playing music when I got sick on my 18th, yeah, around my 18th, 17th age. I have a chronic illness called, in English, myalgic encephalomyelitis. I hope I pronounced it correctly. It's a very very heavy disease. I have it for I'm 30 now, so I have it for over 12 years, and it's a muscle nerve disease, and it goes from my spine to my brain, and um, I have like an energy limit of like 5% to 10% on a day compared with a normal person, and that's on a good day. If I have a bad day, I cannot walk. I cannot barely go to the toilet. That sounds very heavy, but my body's just shutting down. So I have that for over.
Oh, fuck me. I'm so sorry to hear that. That
Yeah,
sucks.
yeah, that's definitely sucks. But I've learned to cope and live with that, in the years. I'm very much housebound, let's say it like that, I'm happy. There are a lot of people in the same sickness who cannot walk anymore, and stuff like that. I have it in a medium to moderate form, if I said it correctly, and I'm very much housebound. So it's like if I there, yeah, there. Some days are really heavy that I cannot even go to the city center or to the village center because I live in a town village, and on my e-bike, for example, it's very very heavy. And music is for me. So at the time when I got sick, sorry that I go all over the place, but at the time that I got sick, I had the first 3 years I was laying in my bed most of the time, and that's where I discovered bands like Heilung or Vadruna, for example. And
Hmm.
for me, I wasn't able to go into nature. Can you imagine living so close to the forest and being so sick that you just open a window and you cannot even walk to a fucking tree? Sorry for saying it like that, but yeah,
No, it's
please,
fine.
please,
Yeah,
please,
yeah, yeah.
bloop that out. Uh,
No, no, no. Had you always been outdoorsy prior
yeah,
to that?
yes, yes, yes.
Oh no.
I love nature. So for me, like having to suffer that sickness, this sickness that I have is very, very heavy. Also mentally, like it's.
Of
I also
course.
I started to develop like panic attacks as well because I couldn't handle the physical symptoms basically from it. So it's very scary when your body is like not being able to stand up or you have so much pain. I'm basically 24/7 in pain. Like I'm also now in pain. So it's something I've learned to live with. But yeah, so for me, discovering, bands like Wadruna and Heilung, and also listening to all the other music that I told you already before, music got a deeper, yeah, deeper connection for me with healing, and especially, yeah, a band like Wadruna or Heilung, it's like who focus as well on combining nature, right, with music, and really bringing you on a journey or an experience. And I remember when I was really sick, I said to myself, like, if one day, if it goes a bit better, if somehow, if I can make music, I would love to do that. I want to make music that can help people, like truly, from a deep soul desire, basically. So yeah, that's kind of the story behind why I wanted to start making music.
Yeah, it's kind of like when it's a thing that has helped you, you want to put more of that into the world, right?
Yeah, exactly. So something that I was like, oh wow, this has helped me at some really hard and heavy times. And I was like, but why are they not why is the whole world not listening to this kind of music? Or why, you know what I mean? Like it's like why is it not bigger? Or I was feeling like I just want to help people. because I know what it is to have pain, and mentally or physically. I just want to help people who are sick, and if that is mentally, if that is panic disorder or depression, or physical illnesses like cancer, for example, or other sicknesses. I want to create music that has a certain vibration for healing, and that's what I always really try to focus on, and still focusing on, basically.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So that's kind of the story behind why, how, and what. Yeah, and I
Mhm.
say it with a smile, but it's a coping mechanism as well.
Oh,
It's
I'm sure it
yeah.
is.
Oh, I know. I'm both like I'm not to the same degree as you, I'm sure, but Dan and I have both dealt with separate things on each our
Yeah.
ends. So I'm sure like there are elements of what you're saying that even though we don't know what it's like to have your specific illness, like it
No, yeah,
resonates that
Mhm.
yeah.
feeling of some like suddenly, especially what you said about like developing panic attacks. And also, can I just say, panic attacks, before you know what a panic attack is, are the scariest thing in the world
Yeah, it
because you
is.
actually think that you are dying or that your body is shutting down and you don't know what's happening. And then you figure out that it's a panic attack and it's like, oh, so I'm not going to die. It just feels like it. Okay, cool. I'll just survive this, I guess. But like starting to develop those like comorbidities, as I've learned that they're called, because of just elements of your life being completely taken away from you, like stuff that you love you can't do anymore. I know that feeling, and it's really painful.
Yeah, it is. I think it's beautiful that you said that, Max. Thank you. So what I want to say on that is that everyone on this earth is walking a journey, right? Everyone. Some people have we all have our unique journeys, but I really believe that a lot of people are going through a lot of heavy stuff, a lot of heavy stuff. And I mean, you're a lucky human if nothing happens to you in life, but I don't
Yeah.
believe that.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. We are all born and we're all gonna die one day, and we're all losing loved ones in this life. And what I have really learned for myself is that we are spiritual beings just living a human experience. That's how I see it. And I really, at least through the years, it really feels for me that if I can make a song for even if it's one person and just help this person through the day or just through a situation or just make them feel a little bit better, then I feel like my job is done. It's like that's every time when I make a song, I feel like I have this responsibility of making a medicine almost for the people and or for a person, and that's just kind of how I approach making music. And with that being said, I also have HDD and ADD, and I have like I could make music all day, but I can't. So basically, my brain is like as well
Oh
with
my
ideas
God.
and
Yeah.
melodies. So I mean, Max, like, did you say you have ADD as well?
I
Like,
I I got diagnosed with ADHD about 3 years ago, and
oh,
it made so much sense suddenly, and it made me understand why I was on these loops of being just so insanely creative and productive, but always having that feeling of not being able to adult properly, if you understand what I
yeah,
mean. Like
yeah,
I was
yeah,
never able to keep track of everything the way that I felt like I should. But
yeah.
at the same time I knew that I was really good at stuff. But like what you said with like because I've been dealing with some health issues these past few months that has also severely debilitated me to the point where like my energy is so low that sometimes I have a hard time brushing my teeth.
Mm,
Um, where like I know what you mean with that thing, and I like Dan knows from earlier we've talked about like my research project, which is currently on pause for the moment, but just how much I love to think about it, and then having these thoughts that just won't stop bombarding you, but you actually can't work on it because you don't have the physical or mental capacity. But at the same time it's like this little radio frequency that's like la, 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 like in your head constantly,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So yeah, so I want to say I'm so sorry to hear that you've been dealing as well with lots of stuff, Max, and I can really relate to that when it comes to HDD. It's heavy, and then especially like in my situation, also being limited with energy and having like an energy battery 5% in a day. Many times I'm on bed and I'm thinking, oh fuck, I have this amazing idea. I want to record it, but I can't because I have to lay down, or I cannot even walk. I don't use a wheelchair. I'm too proud for that. That sounds stupid, but I feel like as long as I can walk, I want to walk. I want to keep my muscles as strong as possible, because there are a lot of people who have the sickness that I have. That use wheelchairs, or even they have special chairs that they go that they fully lay down and they go out, for example. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that kind of stuff, but
No, I have.
yeah. So that has to do because I have also orthostatic intolerance, and actually for this podcast I have rested a whole week to prepare.
Oh,
Right.
bless you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bless
I've
you.
not. Yeah, I
Thank
just
you
wanted to
for
say
being
that.
on, Jonathan.
No,
That's
yes,
amazing.
I have been resting my ass off just to be able to have this conversation with you guys, and that sounds like um, maybe, yeah, I don't know if some people can comprehend that, but that really means like I haven't been out of the house, I haven't been doing nothing.
Oh,
I've
wow.
just been resting a lot, laying on bed. My wife is also my this sounds heavy, but caregiver 24/7. So she helps me a lot, and she's so wonderful. I'm such a lucky man with her. I wouldn't be able to do anything if it wasn't for her. So yeah.
What's your wife's name?
Adelaida.
Hey, Adelaida, you're
Yeah.
awesome. We love you.
So she's truly amazing, and very lucky man. And we have a nice little kitten at home as well now, called Noxie. We love animals.
Noxie.
Noxie, yeah, it's from the goddess of the night, actually, from Roman mythology. Actually, in
Oh yeah.
it's Nox, and in Greek mythology it's Nyx. But I thought, we were. I was like, okay, so there was this spell on Harry Potter, and I think you guys know
Yeah.
Harry Potter,
Lumos
right? Like
Noxus. Yeah.
Lumos Nox, and I was like
Yep.
Nox,
Yep.
hey
Yep.
Nox,
Yep.
and I was like, okay, Noxie. I was like, that's nice for a female cat, like we have a ragdoll. I don't know if you know that kind of breed, but it's
Yeah.
so sweet, and yeah, so that also gives a lot of love, and it's very nice. So when I have a bad day, she comes also many times with me and have a nice cuddle on the bed. So that's
That
very sweet.
that helps, doesn't it? Having
Yeah,
there's
animals, man.
there's something about
Yeah.
that. Like I said, we're in a heavy chat. I don't think I would be here if it wasn't for Rocco, my little cocker spaniel. He's
Oh wow, man. Yeah.
I got him two and a bit years ago, and like he's been, I certainly in like the hardest times, he was the absolute savior. Like he was there day in day out. I was responsible for him. He was the little reason to get up and do things. And when you're sad, they know, don't they? They know, and they come in when there's that one moment where you need it, they just come and like cuddle in and give you that little bit extra. They're so kind of attentive to that and aware.
On that note, can I make a silly caveat? Because my dog Ibsen, who's named after this Norwegian playwright, just since we were on the topic of names, I was kind of what's it called, pretentious with naming him. But I was like, I want the Norwegian Shakespeare, so Ibsen. That's what we're going with. It fits him though, it really does. But on that note of like, caregiving and everything, I think having animals is such a wonderful thing, because especially now for these past few months, a lot of people have asked me like, but don't you get lonely? And I'm like, I genuinely don't, but I've thought about it a lot. I'm like, why aren't I lonely? And then I tried to imagine, but like, what if Ibsen wasn't here? And then I'm like, oh, then I think I would be lonely.
Yeah.
But because he's here, I never feel lonely. Like right now, I'm looking at him like he's laying on my guest bed and he's the cutest. But then also on what you said with like giving you that little bit of extra love, and that you can tell that they can tell that you're sad. Ibsen is the biggest asshole when it
Oh,
comes to that.
really?
He can tell when I'm feeling down, and then he'll be like, ugh. And he'll come over, or he'll be like, you're a lot right now. I'm just going to
Oh.
hang out over here for a while. And I'm like, you fucker, you don't even pay rent. Come over here and give me some love.
Yeah, give me the cuddles. Oh, bless.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they are the best though.
They are the
It
best.
is though. Like you never feel alone. You know, like
Yeah.
I say, when I spoke about on here before about like the mental health issues I had after losing someone close, and I had never really been on my own before. I'd been with that person since I was 17 up until 33. So I'd never really been on my own. It just wasn't something I was used to. And having Rocco just there, even though, I mean, he follows me around like a shadow, to be fair, so I don't get the same treatment that Ibsen does. Sometimes I would like that. But just having him there was enough. It was like having a person there. I never felt alone. I never felt like worried. There was just like, especially when there were times where I was worried about having nightmares and things like that. Like he was kind of just there
Always
and like
there.
a comfort, and it was
Yep.
really, really sweet. I did want to ask Jonathan, and this goes to you too, Mags, I guess, and I hope it doesn't come across insensitive in any way because it's not intended that way. But
Good to know. We'll take it the best way.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dan.
when you have those moments where your mind's racing a million times a second, but you physically can't do anything, is that an opportunity where you can really refine ideas? Like, is there a positive spin that can be put onto that? Whereas, even though you are physically trapped, but you can kind of, I don't know how people, if everyone's brains work the same. Whereas I feel like I'm quite a puzzle minded brain. I feel like
Same.
I often say like
Yeah.
I feel like I can, in that scene in Iron Man where he's got the little gloves on and he's stood in front of like the computer and can move things around and see them.
Yeah.
That's how I feel like I solve puzzles. So when I, and I know it's completely different, but when I'm carving at work and I'm in one place for many hours, I'll be also because I can zone out at this point. I'll be able to like think of a lot of other things and kind of like strip them apart and try and create solutions of things that I need to do. And I wondered if that was something that could be done at that time, or does that become even too taxing? Because obviously, brain power also takes energy.
Yeah, definitely it is. Wow, it's in my situation, and I cannot speak for Max because, of course, I think you also have HDD on different levels, right? So this is one thing, and then you also have every person is unique again, and every situation is unique, and that combined with just my chronic health problems, with the ME, the muscle nerve problems. What I notice is that, yeah, for me, if I cannot do it, if I am racing and my body's shutting down, my mind is having a really rough time, and that's when panic starts to arise with me. So this is what I actually learned last month, because just like Max, I actually got diagnosed with HCD not that long ago, like 2 years ago. So
Welcome to the club.
yay!
We're happy to have you.
Thank you. So it's like it's like but I understand now what's going on in my brain. I understand better now. Why do I have a panic attack? Like stuff like that, and why I don't control my racing thought process or stuff like that, and that in combination with all the other stuff. Okay, so for example, I can sometimes make a song because of my limited energy. I can sometimes make a full song in an hour and I'm done. That a lot of people
Wow.
are like, what are you talking about? Because most producers, so a lot of producers have like, I don't know if you guys ever seen that, but like if they have like a lot of
Yeah.
lines. So for me it's like I have like 4 or 5 lines, and sometimes a song is done like that. So I have a
Okay.
lot of I would say simplistic kind of sounds. Then I have this amazing friend Leon, who manages my music and does a lot of the production work for Gealdýr as well. So it's where long hours sometimes go into, and that's kind of like how I approach it. I have these ideas, and then it's like, okay, I have to record it when I have energy. I do that, and sometimes I'm an hour in the studio or two, and then it's there. The song is there. The vocals are there. I'm mainly talking about the vocals. Let's say it like that, because this is for me like capturing the vocals is kind of like the key for I think what I do with my music. And once I capture the vocals, everything else can be recorded. You know what I mean? Like if you need to do a melody over or something like that. But vocals, at least in my experience as a musician, is something that's it's almost like I'm doing a live kind of recording at that moment, and I have to capture the sound as good and perfectly as I can with the right vibration that I want to give it. With that being said, I haven't studied music or whatever, so I'm doing everything in my own way anyway. So
Wow.
yeah. I can also I also don't read notes or chords or stuff like that. So it's everything is on air and everything like that. So it's just like that.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah.
It is.
That you have no like musical education. It's just
No,
what
no.
you've learned to do.
Yeah. Like yeah, it's a lot is on feeling. I'm working in on a Mac on Logic Pro X. It's a very nice system to work with for somebody who is not very technical, I would say, because I don't see myself as a very technical producer or stuff like that. I see myself mainly as I do producing. I do understand now how and what, but at the
But isn't that
core.
kind of the fun thing though, to like learn it bit by bit as you go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you listen to my first songs and you listen to it now, you're like, well, at least I am like, whoa, that could have been done way better. But at the end of the day, it's about it's about how does a song sound for a person, right? Like how um what emotions can you bring into the song, and how can you make a person feel with that. So yeah, but with that
Do,
being said, yeah, I can hearing back, for example, my first my second song, Ragnarok. um I redid I redo or sorry, I basically remastered the song together with Danheim in the time. So we also made another version, and I was like, oh wow, I also learned a lot from that process. So it's it's been a long journey and a fun journey, and learned a lot
good.
along the
Do,
way.
do you think that aids to having the emotion in there, because this is your process, it's how you do things, it's not how anybody else does it, so it allows you to kind of create something truly unique. And I always love that. And again, you can only compare it to things in your own life, and it's same with the horn carving. I was a plumber. I just picked up a Dremel and kind of figured it out, and made a lot of mistakes and made my own way of doing it. Now I don't know if it's right, but it's my way. It kind of works, but I think that's also what makes it unique and make why our stuff stands out to other people's or everyone else's, because it's just that's how we do it. That's how I've always done it. It's just
Yeah, but how do you think our ancestors learned things? By doing things, by by learning by mistakes or stuff like that, and um, I think it's so interesting, like meeting people like you, Dan, and Max, and also how you explain. I have a good friend who is a wood carver, and he carves beautiful, statues of Odin and everything like that. And but he learned it most by himself, and that's like I don't know what it is, but I think when we have a vision or a dream for something, we find a way to do it, to realize it. Like it's almost like when you see it or hear it, I think you can do it. If that makes sense.
yeah,
If you can visualize it, you can realize it. That's how I like to
yeah.
say
Oh,
it.
I love that. I like that a lot. And I also think that I think that there of mm, I'm gonna do a Dan, and I'm sorry, Dan, for phrasing it like that.
Okay,
That means
it's all
I'm
right.
gonna be
As long as it's a positive, I hope.
This is going to sound so rude. I'm going to make a sweeping generalization based on very little evidence.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
I'm saying this with lots of love.
I'm going to take another drink on that.
Yeah, you can do that. I think that with the standardization of so many crafts and skills, I think that maybe, at least I've felt this way personally. So maybe this is just me, but I felt like so stumped trying to get into new things so many times because I felt like, oh no, I'm probably not doing it the right way. But when you were talking about it just now, it kind of struck me that like there are very few things that needs to be done the right way. Like, I think, like, for example, you can't argue with the fact that when it comes to medicine, you just need to learn how to do it from professionals and you need to hone in on exactly how, because if not, you could potentially kill someone and we'd rather not have that happen. But like when it comes to wood carving or making music, or in my case, writing something or drawing something or crocheting like I'm doing right now, like who gives a shit if it turns out a bit crappy or something the first time? Also, that's subjective to begin with, right? What's crappy and what's not. My point being like exactly what you said, Jonathan, with how do you think our ancestors learned stuff? Like they just tried.
I think. Yeah. Oh no, I was going to say, and I think that's probably got worse with the rise of social media because everyone's so scared to do.
I actually disagree with you.
Do you? I think.
Yeah, I disagree with you because
to do things their own way because it's not. Maybe it's not the way that they've seen online, and everyone's. I feel is obsessed with
doing it perfect. You mean, right?
It'd been perfect because they're ridicule or
that. I agree with you on.
They're fed a stream of everything that is perfect. All these social media feeds you these perfect scenarios of people, whether it's people's lives or people that go to the gym or they create these wonderful things. So you think, oh, I have to be perfect. This thing that I made is not quite right.
But that's the thing, like social media, it's like, I mean, if I wouldn't have told you my story, you wouldn't know. I mean, you see kind of like, I mean, you know, you see this, it's like, okay, looks fine, healthy, right? Like, I mean, quite healthy, I hope. But you know what I mean, right? Like people see me like on a picture and they're like, wow, that guy looks great, has a good life, probably is healthy, and look at him making music, but they don't know the story behind it. And I am honestly not too much on social media. I let most of the stuff. My wife does most of the stuff, but I always answer people personally. So if just letting people know that, and I try to answer as much as I can. I think you guys can understand that. Probably you also get quite some reactions, and sometimes it's like very overwhelming with texting people back.
I bet you get, because like I said, because your music just hits that emotion. And I always, we've had a ton of musicians on here, and I think that when you can just feel it without the need of like lyrics, the most people are just going to understand that, you can have a song that's in English and the lyrics can affect you in a certain way, but this is purely, for the most part, purely just through the melodies, the music, and how it kind of connects with you on that very raw level. And when you can hit people emotionally like that, I think it's a really special thing. But on the flip side, I imagine that you do get very kind of emotion, because you hit that emotional reaction from people. They want to tell you, and I'm guilty of that. I think I said this on the podcast a couple of episodes ago, that when something hits me from an artist, I can't help but reach them out and say, you don't know me, I don't mind if you have a reply to this, but by the way, this is the effect this had on me. I just like you to know. I just think it's nice for you to know that you have this positive effect on the world. But I can imagine that can be quite overwhelming.
Yeah. It's the thing is, I love to have a deep conversation with people. I don't like to say, hey, thanks, thank you so much, stuff like that, and be on my way. That's hard. That's really hard for me because I like to thank people for that. If they tell me this big story and it's like, some of them it's heavy, it's like, people tell me about like losing loved ones and how my music helped them in that moment, or going through cancer and they find peace during their process, basically, or even if they cannot heal anymore, even when they're close to death. These things are,
Oh
you know,
wow, Jesus Christ.
yeah, yeah. It's intense. It's intense, and um, for me, it really feels like I don't know how you guys look at spirituality, but for me, it feels like for whatever reason we are here, it feels like the music that I make, I'm really happy that I can help out some people or give some people rest. You know what I mean? Peace. And
Absolutely.
it's like, and I don't want to put religion or label on it. You know, I just really believe in like, and yeah, in that form of love, you know, for one another. And in a way, we were talking about like animals, like getting that unconditional love from an animal, and I think that I just like to believe, or at least I like to live in a way that is like yeah, just spreading that form of love as a human. And I like to do that through music. And just, even though I can this is crazy, but even though I can barely get out of the house myself, I can do something through music and reach so many people. And
Oh yeah.
this is, if you would have told me this like 12 years ago, or like when I was at my most sickest, um I wouldn't have believed it, you know, because I also wanted to say, Dan, I'm very sorry for everything that you went through. And I can really understand, you know, like the feeling of like you wanted to give up or you don't care anymore, stuff like that. Yeah, I hope it's okay I say that.
Well, that's very sweet of you. Thank you.
I never wanted to commit suicide, but I didn't have a reason to live, you know, like I was only laying on bed. And still life is really heavy, but I do feel that, okay, I can give people something. I can be there for people, even though I cannot be there physically. And yeah, for example, live performing, I get lots of questions or questions about that live performing. I cannot do that, sadly. I would love to travel the world and perform everywhere, but this is not the a
But you just
reality for me.
can't. And
No, I
then,
can't. I can't. Yeah.
but then we still get your music though. And
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
one of the great things about the internet where it's like, yeah, I totally agree that
Yeah.
there are so many bad things about it, but you don't actually physically have, well, okay, here I'm making assumptions about your journey. So correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, yeah. Go
But
ahead.
like you don't have to physically mail anything to any record company to get
No.
them to pick you up to then be put on the radio. You can actually just distribute it with one click of your finger from your bed.
It's a very special area that we're living in. You know, it's like there are a lot of bad things happening. You hear it all over the news, right? About the
Sure.
internet and
Absolutely.
AI, you name it. Like a lot of things that technology bring that you think like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen with the world? At the same time, if humans use it for good things, you know, I mean, look what we can do.
Exactly. Yes.
Like in my situation, if we lived in the 70s, for example, or 80s, I wouldn't be possible, you know, stuff like that. And now we can release our own music. We can be on Spotify. We can be on YouTube. Like you guys as well. You're independent. You're independent, right? Like what you
Yeah.
guys do. Yeah. Sorry. So.
And I'm
I
literally
wish
like,
you weren't. If anybody wants to come in and buy this and look after us,
It's like
I'll be a sugar baby. Don't
but
worry.
but Dan, then we might not be able to drink alcohol and curse. You're aware of that, right?
Oh.
Oh well, fuck them then.
Well, what if a whiskey company is sponsoring you
Oh,
guys?
well, that would be a different
Oh,
story.
that would be good.
Yes, yes,
That's
yes,
a good
yes.
point, Jonathan. That's a good point. But like, yeah, like to your point, like I'm literally sitting on the floor in a corner of my apartment right now, and Dan is in his house.
Yeah. And we're talking with one another. Like, sorry, Max, like where are you from exactly? I haven't asked before.
Oh yeah. So no, that's
Where
on
you
me.
live?
I live in Oslo, Norway. I'm Norwegian.
Okay.
But I partially grew up in the United States, which is where my accent is from.
Your accent is really good. I was like, okay, wait a second, where is this lady from? But
yeah, I get that a lot. No, I completely understand. It's no, we moved to the States when I was 12 and we lived there until I was 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, which, you know, had it made an impact.
Yeah, I can understand.
Going to school for 5 years in the American system was good for my accent.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I bet. We're quite well over an hour now. I
Oh
had a
wow, are
couple.
we really? I didn't even.
Yeah,
Jesus.
I feel like we could talk
That
for
went fast.
ages. Yeah,
Yes, this is so much
Yeah.
fun.
I do want to let
Yeah.
people ask some questions because I know they will be
Yeah,
curious. But
absolutely.
before we wrap up, I have a couple of questions that I wanted to ask. The first one was, I know you said the touring or like live shows is an option. Do you think there could be a possibility of like a virtual show? I know that Andy South did it with the Seawolf thing. I saw him do like a virtual thing during COVID, and that was quite cool. And I didn't know if that's something we
Yeah.
could try.
Well, so I did talk, for example, um, with Leon, like, manages my music, and my wife about it a lot. And the thing with my sickness is it is so I can have a good day, but I very rarely, and it is very unpredictable. That's the word that I was
Okay,
looking
yeah.
for. It's very unpredictable. So if I say, okay, hey guys, next week I'm going to go live on Instagram, I don't know, I could have the worst day ever on that day, just pain. And
Mhm.
I can barely get out of my bed because of the cramps, and my legs just don't want to work at that moment or specific hour or that day. So it's like it's too unpredictable for me, and I have a
It's
lot of
like
time.
impossible to make plans.
Yes, it is. Sadly, it's
That sucks, man. I'm so sorry
yeah,
about that. Fuck
Mhm.
yeah.
off.
It's
Oh,
it's it's
how
it's it's
annoying.
it is very hard. It's very difficult, and the thing is with ME, it's also like if you do something very light, your muscles can react on that, and you don't even notice that, and you experience it the next day because it goes fully from the spine to the brain. It's there. For example, you guys probably heard of long COVID, right? Like
Oh
people with
yeah.
long COVID, stuff like that. So ME is like when it comes to tiredness, it looks a bit like similar in that way. So this is yeah, it's difficult, but I got fully how to say it. I went to a specialized hospital in the Netherlands for ME. That's actually on the top of the European Union. In their field, they examined me and they explain me really well what's going on with my body and why I cannot do things uh,
Mhm.
like a normal healthy person. I can talk about it for a long time, but I don't want to make that too
But
complicated for you
that's
guys.
but that's
Um,
so good that they explain that to you so that there's less of that. I don't know if that's similar for you, but I have a really bad habit of even though I understand that I might not be able to do this, I have this weird feeling of but you should be
yeah,
able to. But then if someone with that expertise tell you no, this is what's happening with your body, then it's easier to go, well, I mean, this is still awful and it still sucks, but it's not my
yeah.
fault. I shouldn't actually be able to do this because my body doesn't allow me to, and that sucks. But I at least I don't have to guilt trip myself.
Mhm.
Yeah, you would think that would help, but no, not with
Oh,
me.
oh no.
No. I have an
Oh
insane
no, I'm so
drive.
sorry to hear that.
I have an insane drive. Like I want to do things, I want to do things, and then it's like, boom, you're dead.
Mm,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm
mm.
not dead, but you cannot do it.
Yeah.
Like after this show, I'm gonna crash. I already know that. I'm
Oh.
gonna give everything what I have to have this amazing conversation with you guys, and then I know, okay. I have no idea what's going to happen. Maybe I will lay for a week on bed. But I schedule that out. You know what I mean? So
Oh
Mm,
it's
bless
like
man.
you.
it's like I don't know. I have no idea. So I never know what it brings, and that's a lot of uncertainty. But still, I have this drive, just this drive, and I think that's also why I'm still here, because
Mhm.
there actually with my illness, there's quite a high death rate, and it doesn't have to do with the sickness itself. That has to do with suicide.
I
Most
Yeah.
bet.
people with
Yeah.
this, or a lot of people with this illness, they commit suicide, sadly. But it's very understandable. It's very heavy. But with that being said, I am very blessed with the life that I with that I have with the wife that I have and with the just the situation how it is. I'm just thankful. I like to see the things that I have and not the things that I don't have anymore because that is it's would be different elsewise.
Can I just say, like, I know that we said it earlier, but I appreciate you taking this time, like, so much. And then,
Oh,
like,
of
I mean
course.
that genuinely because we all have different batteries, right? And just you wanting to spend your limited amount of battery on this for us is, I really
Of course.
appreciate that so much. And this
Yeah, me too.
conversation is so cool and wonderful. And it's so fun to hear all of your thoughts. And it's not cool to hear
Positivity
about
as
your
well.
bad. Yeah. It's not cool to hear about your, bad experiences. But at the same time, it's a true thing, though, right? It's real.
It's a very true conversation that we have, and that's what I like. I mean, I like those things. Like, I like deep conversations, and you guys have them all the time, of course, on this podcast. But as Dan said, it's long overdue, and I also felt like, oh yeah, I really hope we can do it in the next year. I think I don't know. Last time I talked to Dan, I said like, yeah, it's not good time right now. I think you said like at the end of the year, right? I said to you, it's not a good time right now, but it has to do with my health because I was like, okay, I cannot handle it right now. It was too heavy for me. So yeah. So I just rested a lot, and yeah.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And like I say, I don't want to keep you too long because obviously we know
it's okay, man. I'm here now, so let's do it.
Yeah, all right.
But we also trust you to make sure to let us know.
I will let you guys know. I have you don't see it, but I have a warm water bottle in my side just for my muscles to relax as much as possible. I'm sitting comfortable. So I will let you guys know if I cannot hold on anymore. Okay?
Yeah.
Great.
Get Knox on the other side.
Yeah, if I let her into the studio, you wanna see a little bit how it looks, or is that okay?
Yes.
If I
sure. Yeah, sure.
That would be great.
This is for the people on YouTube. Go and check YouTube.
Yeah. So okay, give me 1 second.
Yes, because you are in your studio. Because I felt like I got that vibe with the acoustic like.
So here we got like my instruments. Some of them.
Look at them.
So we have I see a little screen. Graphic Lira is tagal harpa, small one. I have to look good. That's another tagal harpa. That's a trosinga lira, and that's another bigger tagal harpa.
Wow.
So and then we have some drums and stuff like that as well here. Also flute somewhere there. Oh yeah, but yeah. So some stuff there, and yeah. Still wanting to collect more instruments, but it's at a certain moment you're like, okay, I need more space a little bit, and at a certain moment it's also like the funny thing is because of my limited energy, I am not, I would say a lot of the times I'm exploring an instrument for the first time, that sounds really weird, but I explore it while I create. So many times it's like people say, how do you make music? So how my brain works, and maybe Max can really understand it well. It's like I love to listen and hear the sounds of an instrument. I know how to tune it, and then I'm gonna go and play with it. And it's like what I make is basically like a painting. It's like it's a one-time thing, and I cannot do it over again. So
I completely understand what you mean. This is not a one-to-one comparison, but my sister taught me the basics of crocheting, and I have never used a recipe in my life, and I will never use a recipe in my life because the point is me just figuring it out.
Wow.
That is so cool that you just like your music just kind of happens.
Yeah. So also when people ask me, could you do a live stream? Or I'm like, okay, but I don't really know how to play the tune anymore. it's like, I mean, guys, like, I'm just being truly honest here. Like, I am not your super professional musician that is like doing all these songs out of their heads. It's like I have these ideas and they keep coming and I feel like I want to make so many more ideas and melodies, and it's like a pain. I don't know how else I can explain it.
It's almost like you're what's it called? Like you're being used as kind of like a medium for some musical spirit to just come through.
Yeah, that sounds weird. Like
That does
that
sound
sounds
weird. I was looking
no
for
no no
another
no.
word,
It's
but I
but it's
can't remember
good.
it.
It's good. It's good because it does feel like that. It does feel like that for me.
Conduit.
A
Conduit
conduit.
was the word
Yeah.
that I was looking for.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's so beautiful in its own right because it's just this other thing. You know, they're not replicatable. They're unique, and
Yes.
that comes across. You know, you catch it in the
Yes.
moment.
Yeah. So when you listen to a song of mine, it's like it's for me. It's like that's my own kind of live performance. If you understand what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So this is like, of course, I make it more beautiful than somebody can do on a live performance. Or if you would make a little mistake, right? You can be like, okay, you can correct that or stuff like that, or re-record it, for example. But in a sense, it's very much like a yeah, like a like a live performance.
Yeah.
Or that's how I like to see it. But yeah.
So, last thing I wanted to ask, I guess things like social media, because you said you had this from 18 and you're now 30. So that's what,
Mhm,
the last 12 years. And that's the real kind of boom of social media, the internet. You're a
mhm.
similar age to me, so we didn't really grow up with the internet at like a young age, but it was kind of there, and we had to kind of go
Yeah,
through
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
era
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah, yeah,
exploring it and finding it and the development of it. It's it's been there, and changed. So it's so easy for me, I guess, to sit here and be quite detrimental and negative towards social medias and think that they're the bane of existence and they're horrible. But then I guess to you they can be, I guess, like a very beautiful thing, and they're very like outreach into the world, and especially things like YouTube, I guess, when it comes to learning
yeah, yeah,
instruments and learning how to do things where you said with Jackson Crawford, you can't go out and get to like seminars
yeah,
or to
yeah,
university and to lectures and do these
yeah.
things. But when you can get them on the internet and have these live lectures or the podcast, things like this, that's got to be so important.
Yeah, yeah, it's Jackson Crawford. Like if he didn't start his YouTube channel, I don't think Gealdýr would have existed at all.
Yeah.
Oh
Stuff like
wow.
that, not at all, because the amount of free knowledge that he gives. I mean, you guys know him, like, right? Like
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So the amount of knowledge that he gives is so. It's such an enrichment, if I said it correctly. And just as Jackson Crawford, there are other, maybe smaller YouTubers or whatever, people, specialists. If it's an art, somebody who is specialized in one area of history or another, whatever. It's so beautiful that people are there sharing their knowledge for free with the world, and look what that brings to a person like me, and
Hmm.
just as for you guys, like, I don't know, you name it, if you want to learn to cook or something, I don't know.
Hmm.
I think it is just beautiful. That's a beautiful thing of social media, and yeah, absolutely.
Hmm. Perfect.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about earlier about when I said that I disagree with you on the social media thing, Dan. I think that it's definitely about the space that you cultivate for yourself, like someone in
Yeah,
the chat just said, because I feel like that is what you said about like everything having to be perfect. It's definitely true, and I'm not saying that that isn't true, but I think personally I've been very lucky to also find creators who are very unafraid to share the imperfectness of stuff, and me also then being able to realize that there are different ways of doing stuff. Like I was stuck by my own choice though, but I was stuck in an apartment that was 50% torn down 4 years ago, and I had to figure out how to get it done myself. And then
Mm.
seeing people making these really, really cool interior design decisions and being like, hey, this looks kind of wonky, but I like it. Because if I only had interior design magazines, I wouldn't have ever been able to feel like I did it right or was able to do something that people could enjoy. But then being able to see all these people doing their own fun stuff online, I was like, oh, well, then I can do whatever the fuck I want to do.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's wrap this up, and then we'll let people ask Jonathan some questions. And if you want to participate in a Q&A in future or listen to the Q&A from this episode, go over to our Patreon. It's Patreon/Nordic Mythology Podcast. It starts from £3 a month, which is less than 10p a day, unless you get it in the month of February, in which case it's more than 10p a day. A little calendar joke for people there.
Hey.
All right. Jonathan, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate
Of
you
course.
using your energy, preparing for this and whatever comes after. We appreciate you making the sacrifices for us and for just sharing your story. It's a beautiful thing. The positivity that you keep is infectious and will trickle on through your music, through interviews like this, through your social media into other people, and it will help all those people who just need that little uplift in their life, because you are a little light and a little spark. You can just see it kind of from the energy that you don't have comes out in the moments that you do. And we appreciate it very much. And the
Thank
music
you so much.
and the music that you make, it's it's wonderful, and that kind of emotion and your life comes out through that. And just I can't say how much I appreciate you kind of taking that effort. It does mean a lot, and I'm sure people will listen to this and hopefully take that moment to appreciate what they do have. We all have different things in life, different levels in life, different struggles, and no, it doesn't negate anyone's struggles, because we all have our issues, and they're all serious to ourselves in our own way.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
But when you hear other people's situations, hopefully it helps you appreciate the things that you do have and your own situation, and maybe just look at things on a little more of a positive light rather than negative one, because we can all get trapped in this negative cycle and looking at things badly. And sometimes, hearing other people's story makes you think, I need to appreciate the things I have and the people around me, and vice versa in all ways. So hopefully it makes everyone just kind of enjoy life and appreciate life and the things that we have. So yeah, Jonathan, thank you so much. I'm sure Mags appreciate this one.
Yeah.
Jonathan, where can people find you, listen to you?
Well, on all digital platforms, basically, like Spotify or whatever streaming service you may use for music, you can find my music there. Also YouTube, I have a YouTube channel, so you can find my music there as well. Sometimes we do a nice music video there, and I do have social media, so you can find me mostly like on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. So
Would that be under Gealdýr then?
yeah, Gealdýr. If you type the name, I think you'll find me there. Yeah.
Perfect. Max, where can people find you?
When I do post once in a blue moon, that's usually on Instagram, Archeomags, Archeo with a K.
Perfect. For me, personally, it's Daniel_Farrand1, Horns of Odin for the business, and then Nordic Mythology Podcast for the podcast across the board. Go check us out on YouTube, hit the little like and subscribe. As we said before, play it for the dog in the background, leave it on all night. I don't care, just loop it. Get us those, get that algorithm going.
Get us those interactions so the algorithm loves us.
That's it, yeah. But I love this episode. I think it's very important, and I think a lot of people will find benefit from it. Thank you very much for your honesty and openness, Jonathan.
Thank you guys so much.